of Washington, D.C. Joining on the set for this segment is Dr. Jordan Butcher and Garrett Partain. Thanks for joining us today. We're very excited to have you all. So, y'all have to tell me about this amazing trip.
Yeah, so this past January, we got to spend an entire week in Washington, D.C., and we got to explore the city. We got to go to all sorts of fun places, meet lots of awesome people. It was just a really great experience.
Absolutely. So, how did this even come about?
And so I was actually approached by the Washington Center almost 2 years ago at this point. I myself am a Washington Center alum, and so they found out I was here at Arkansas State. They reached out and they wanted to really re-up our partnership, and I said, absolutely, why not? This is a great opportunity. And so as part of the Washington Center, not only do they offer these short one-week seminars, they also offer semester-long programs. And so we actually have 2 students there right now who are going to spend an entire semester there interning, taking classes, and just living in D.C. And so it's such an awesome opportunity that I didn't want to turn it down.
Yeah.
And so after, some COVID hiccups and paperwork,
Yeah.
we're here almost 2 years later, finally sending students.
Awesome, awesome. So I have to ask a little bit of background information. So are you the student's professor, or are they just in the political science department? How did they go about getting in contact with you to have the opportunity to go to Washington?
So right now, since we're just getting this off the ground, it is for our political science majors and minors.
Okay.
Because we're still figuring out exactly what it is we're doing, right? So a number of the students I had before, some of them I have not, but it was really word of mouth. Within the political science department, we're a pretty tight-knit community, and the students all know each other really well. So it didn't take long for word to get out, and we were able to take 12 students on this week-long program.
That's phenomenal. So is it specific to our upperclassmen in political science, lowerclassmen? Who can go?
So eventually we want to be able to take everyone, but of course for this one we were limited in funding, so we took primarily upperclassmen. I think we had 1 or 2 sophomores, but everyone else was a junior, and we have a lot of graduating seniors that went. So we were glad that they had this opportunity before they left us.
Yeah. So is this offered to our graduate students in political science as well, or is it specifically just for undergrad?
So it is undergrad right now because
Okay.
we have not had master's students interested, but that is something I'm hoping to figure out over the next 6 months to a year, is how we can get our master's students involved, because at the Washington Center they take master's students, but on our end of things, again, with it being our first time, we haven't quite figured out what that looks like as a department, so we're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So for your future endeavors, would you like to embed this in the curriculum, or is this something that you would like to have optional?
So this is something that will remain optional because it can be cost prohibitive for some students, although there are scholarships available. So we are going to embed it in the curriculum, but as an option. And so we're actually going to create course shells in the hopefully next year, so students can see this and come to me and be like, "What is this internship? Like, I want to do this." That way, it's more public. But again, the students do have to pay a little bit more to participate, and so we don't want to require that of all students.
Yeah. So from a professor's perspective, what was the highlight of your trip, being able to see your students, have that opportunity and that experience?
There was so much for me that I loved about it. It was very rewarding. I myself spent an entire semester there as an undergrad and fell in love with DC, so it was really fun for me to see them in some of the same places that I was in as a college student. That area has definitely grown. It's way cooler than when I was in college, but it was just so fun. It was so rewarding to go back and experience it all again for the first time. And they asked phenomenal questions. I saw their interest grow. They're really interested in giving back to the community now, applying what they've learned. I think we'll talk to them some about that as well. But it was just a great week all the way around.
Awesome, awesome. So now I'm going to switch it over to Mr. Garrett Partain, a student, right? So how was your experience going?
It was absolutely amazing. Last year, I got a scholarship to go before we had funding to send 12 people fully free. I got a scholarship along with 2 other students, but sadly, due to the COVID complications Dr. Butcher was talking about, it got canceled. and so did all the tours that we were going to go on and everything. It was absolutely horrible. But thankfully, this year we were able to not only secure more funding, but I got to go along with one of the other people who got to go or who was going to go last year. I'm not a person who has traveled much. I have basically before college, the only state I went to that doesn't touch Arkansas was Florida. So it was really amazing being able to fly up north to what to me is north and be able to see our nation's capital and experience everything within it. Not only that, but we got to hear from a lot of amazing speakers, like a lot. It was an enlightening experience, to say the least.
Yeah, so what was the biggest thing, I'm going to say your top 3 things that you took away from the entire experience?
Oh, Lord. I would have to say that, firstly, there are a lot more jobs in government and government-related things than you could ever possibly imagine. Secondly, that most people are the exact same as you and me, even though they're working in Washington, including like our representatives and stuff like that. They're just normal people trying to get by, trying to do the best they can. And that there are a lot more people there who, there's the stereotype about Washington.
Yeah,
There's
for
a lot
sure.
more. There's a lot more people there trying to do the right thing than people would have you imagine. Especially those that like to work with the Washington Institute. I mean, they don't get too terribly much out of it besides helping people and educating them.
Awesome. So what initially got you involved? Like what sparked your interest in taking advantage of this opportunity?
I would say what primarily sparked my interest in partaking in the activity is not only Dr. Butcher herself telling me about it, but the fact that I haven't really gone many places. I'm a political science major. My entire deal is learning about governments and ours especially, and not having the ability growing up to go to places like Washington D.C. or even take a trip to Little Rock, where our state capital is. I mean, that's a limiting experience for someone who studies government. So as soon as the opportunity presented itself, I mean, it just seemed an excellent opportunity to get that sort of experience, to actually have a hands-on talking with people in our government and people who work for our government.
Yeah. So what happens now? Now that you've been exposed to DC, you have all this great information. So did that spark your curiosity to want to return, or were you exposed to a different career that maybe you didn't think about? So what do you do with this wealth of information that you gain?
100%. I have been thinking about other careers now. I made a lot of contacts over in DC. It's a great networking experience, the entire trip. There's this an individual specifically at the Brookings Institute who was interested to hear from me after we talked in a panel. After our group, specifically just A-State students, went to talk to people from one of the biggest and most prestigious lobbying groups in all of DC. So most definitely has me considering some other things that I was not before.
Yeah. So what was it that you were initially considering?
I've come into, and currently my plan still is, but I've come into college thinking about law school. I still am most definitely thinking about law school, but my journey on how to get there is looking a little bit different than it was.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take a couple of years off, or maybe go a roundabout way to it.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely want to talk more how other students can get involved, because I know that you said it's specific to the political science majors and minors. Have you thought about opening it up to other students, or right now it's just for political science?
Right. So right now it's just political science, major, minor, because this is something additional that I do. And I think it would be so popular that I would not be able to meet all of my other responsibilities. So until it grows, until we actually know kind of what we're doing, it is limited, especially with the strong ties to government that we have with the Washington Center. But it also provides a lot of awesome opportunities. And I hope that this also illustrates to students all across campus how much political science ties into any major, any field, just like we're sitting here talking about it right now. And so really anyone can add on that political science minor pretty easily with just a few classes and have this experience. And it makes you really marketable to do really any career in DC if you have just that baseline government knowledge. So we're hoping it will help build up our program and really set our political science program apart from all of those other programs at universities across the state.
For sure. So, Garrett, what advice would you give to any, we'll say freshman political science major or minor who's interested about looking into this trip?
I would say most definitely just talk to your professors, whether it be Dr. Butcher over here or the chair of the department, Dr. Wimpy. He still teaches some classes, or even Dr. Tuslam, anybody that you know in the political science department. Just ask them what opportunities there are, and if this is around, they'll sure tell you about it. One thing that I know our department does amazing is advocating for students, whether or not our professors know us that well at first.
Awesome.
They always look to have us take advantage of anything that they have going on. And so I'm sure even as a new political science minor, you change next semester, you're ready to go. I'm sure people would absolutely love to help you out, and that is the first step, just reaching out.
Yeah, awesome. So what are the requirements though? Like, do students have to fill out an application? Do they have to submit their resumes? How do you decipher who's going to have the opportunity to go?
Right, so the first step would be to come talk with me so we can make sure the program is a good fit if it will help meet career needs. And I actually just had a meeting like this with a student 2 days ago, talking about the Washington Center, how it might help him and his career goals. And another one 2 weeks before that. So first step, come talk with me. I love talking about the program, love talking with students. Like Garrett said, we love our students and we love to advocate for them, and we will help you in any way possible to get those opportunities. So far as the application process, the Washington Center does have a pretty standard short application process. It's not too burdensome. There are minimum GPA requirements. You do have to be at least a sophomore for their semester-long programs. Their week-long programs are a little bit more flexible on all of that. But first step, come talk with me or anyone else in the department, and we'll get you set on the right path.
Sounds good. So we've learned a wealth of information just from YouTube, but we're definitely looking forward after the break. So we'll continue our conversation with Tori Simmons and Harrison Warren as they discuss their collaboration with the Inside Washington Center and recent trip to DC. We'll be right back after this.
ASU-TV, shows like Red Wolf Roundtable, ASU-TV News, Westside Football, and more. Gain real-life experience while doing what you love. Get involved with ASU-TV today.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you how.
At Arkansas State, we want you to go. Go where learning soars, takes flight, and rockets ahead. Go for experiences, internships, and scholarships. We want you to go. Become A-State Maine. Are you ready to go? Go.astate.edu for details.
Welcome back to You, Me, and the Community on ASU-TV. We are continuing our wonderful conversation with Tori Simmons and Harrison Warren as we discuss their collaboration with the Inside Washington Center and recent trip to Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining me on You, Me, and the Community. All right, y'all, so let's get into it. How did y'all get involved in participating in this trip?
I work in the political science office,
Yeah.
and Dr. Butcher actually mentioned it, and she said that since we're political science majors and we're both seniors, so
Okay.
she's like, this is a wonderful opportunity to do before you graduate. So
Yeah.
I've been in the poli-sci department for a few years now, and I've taken Dr. Butcher's classes before, and I would say I'm one of her more vocal students.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity came about, she talked to me, and she knew I was graduating this semester, and she was like, "This is definitely something I want you to experience." So I figured, why not?
Why not? Yeah. So tell me about y'all's experience there, like what you saw, what you learned. I got to know the details.
we talked to a lot of people that I don't think I'd ever think about talking to in my life. Like, I never pictured myself even being in D.C. for a while. We talked to one of our senators, Senator Bozeman, and we talked to, briefly, Rick Crawford, our representative, and we talked to a lot of other people like ambassadors and journalists, people in the media. It was very informative, and it opened up, like, going into political science, it was just law, like I want to be a lawyer, and going to D.C., it opened up a lot of different job opportunities that I realized I could do besides just going to law school.
Yeah.
So for me, I think what I enjoyed most about the trip is that obviously the Washington Center provides like amazing educational opportunities. We heard from a lot of people that just at ASU you would never hear from, and that was really amazing. But also there was freedom to explore the city, so you got to see everything around you and just sort of get integrated within the community. And that was my favorite part about the trip, is you weren't confined to just, you have to stay here, you have to be in school all day. They really gave you a lot of freedom.
Awesome. Okay, so I want you all to take me through one of your days there. So what it looked like, your play-by-play. You woke up, did you explore the city some, and then you all went to meetings? Like, how did it go?
So we got up, I got up about 7:30 every day, and we had to be downstairs 8:30, 8:45 for our first speaker. They started at 9, and we would listen to anywhere from 2 to 4 speakers a day. It ended at noon every day. We would go brief at lunch, and then we would come back and have usually something to do in the afternoon. Like one day we toured the Capitol. One day we listened to someone from Open Secrets, and we just did different things every day.
Open secrets. What's open secrets?
I'll let Harrison talk about that.
Open Secrets, it was one of my favorite speakers, I have to say, because a lot of people don't know that there's, I would say, I think the number was about $14 billion in political funding going in that just, they don't know where it's coming from. These people don't have to tell their names, they don't have to tell anything. It's just these sort of shell corporations that are going into politics. And Open Secrets is an organization that tracks that money and is trying to inform just the general public. This is what's happening in our nation, and you should be informed. And I'll be honest, I was ignorant about it before, and she came in and she was just telling us all about it, and I was like, wow, more people need to know this.
For sure.
So,
Yeah.
great speaker. Everyone go look up Open Secrets.
Oh, everyone go look up Open Secrets, okay? All right, so Harrison, tell me about your day. How was one of your days there?
So my day, as she said, we started about 8:30, 8:45. That means I usually rolled out of bed at 8. I'm a little more sluggish, and then we would listen to just 3 or 4 like amazing speakers, and it varied from, people who are experts in foreign policy, and the economy, just sort of different things that all relate to the nation. And then after that, we'd go take a lunch break. We'd go somewhere new in D.C. that we'd never tried before, and just sort of debrief what happened in the morning, what we thought about it. In the afternoon, we had it was more of a small group focus thing, and we just go to like a think tank, or like she said, we went to the Capitol and we got to speak with John Bozeman directly and just tell him our concerns about Jonesboro, about the state, Northeast Arkansas, just everything. And then after that, we were about 4 o'clock. It was off to the races. You got to explore DC. So
Wow.
one night, me and Tori and a few of our other friends, we just were like, let's go see every monument that we can possibly see. And we walked about 20 miles that day, but it was worth it.
Yeah, y'all got y'all steps in for sure that day.
For sure.
Yes. Awesome. So you both stated you're graduating seniors,
Yes.
right? So with that trip, all the knowledge that you know now, so what's next for you, Tori?
I've actually applied for 6 internships for the summer, 5 of which are in DC because of this trip.
Yeah.
I was just gonna apply for ones in Arkansas, but since I went on this trip, I definitely want to go back. I personally didn't want to leave when we had to leave, so I'm looking for any opportunity I can to go and stay there for longer.
For sure.
So after college, for me, I've always just considered going to law school, and that I always thought I would go locally, either Arkansas. I'm from Missouri. I thought I would stay there, but this really opened my eyes to there are other places just different from where I'm from, and DC could definitely be a place I could see myself ending up.
Awesome. So who's working on a project now? Is it Tori or Harrison?
We actually both
Both
are.
are?
Yeah, it's
Okay, tell me a little
collaborative.
bit about it.
We're doing a community project. So one of the speakers we talked to in DC, well, she talked to us, was about voting, and people in the age range 18 to 35, I think, only 27% of that population votes. And so we're working on a community project to make it more accessible for people that age to vote and to get the word out, because a lot of people that age are in college and they're not from that town. So it's hard for them to go back home and be able to vote. So we're looking at different opportunities to get the word out and get them access to going home and voting. For example, we were looking at having, which it's not set, but at canceling classes on voter day
Oh,
to
that'd
have
be
the
awesome.
opportunity to go home and vote.
Yeah. Wow. So are y'all collabing with anyone or is it just y'all?
So we have already reached out to the public library, and we're trying to reach out to some companies that are doing transportation. And it's really all just about making voting accessible, because that's the biggest problem. We saw it in the midterm elections. It's people our age, it's minimal turnout.
Yeah.
So it really is, and we need to get people out there, and we need to get them to vote, because voting is the most powerful form of democracy that we have.
Absolutely. Well, y'all have to keep me posted on it. I've done several voter registration drives and trying to educate our community to get out and vote. So would y'all say that this project was directly stemmed and inspired from your trip to DC?
I think it was. I've always wondered, like, the voter turnout for us, but once she talked to us and we went to DC, it made me realize that we really need to get our voices out there. Like, we're the ones that are in the next generation, and nothing's going to change if we don't do anything about it. But we're not, I mean, if only 27% of us are voting, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So it's, like he said, we're trying to partner with other places like the Jet Bus. We're trying to set up to where on the weeks of voting, they'll have a stop specifically in front of the building where you vote, so people can get off and vote and then go wherever they need to go.
That's awesome. So Craighead County, we have to get out and do it, right? We have 2 young advocates here directly inspired from y'all's trip. That's amazing. So y'all did learn a wealth of information. And Harrison, you said that you're from Missouri,
I am from
right?
Missouri, yes.
So do you plan on going back to Missouri and doing service there, or you gonna hang around Arkansas for a little bit, or do you see yourself going somewhere different?
I think I'll hang around Arkansas just for a little bit, but Missouri is always my home. It has a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
And if I can have the same impact I'm having here back in my hometown, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So Tori, are you from Arkansas?
I'm actually from Jonesboro, yes.
From Jonesboro. Okay. So do you plan to do work here, or do you want to do work somewhere different in a different state?
I haven't really thought about it much. I love to travel, so I think I would probably go somewhere else just because I've been here forever.
Yeah.
And I want to see other cultures and stuff, especially like up north, because I'm used to this southern place. And when we got to DC, it was a culture shock for me, because we had someone in our group. She's like, "Where's the southern hospitality?" And I was like, I guess it's just how it is here, you know. People, it's not the same. So I think I want to study other places first, and I might come back here, but I might not.
Yeah, for sure. So if you all could have a conversation with a group of freshmen just about your entire matriculation through the political science department, what are some things that you would tell them?
I think the number one thing, I was a transfer student.
Okay.
So coming here, there was a lot of nerves. I'd never been to a bigger school. But I think the biggest most important piece of advice I can give is get involved. Because when I went into the poli-sci department, I was like, oh, like I feel like I don't know anyone, I don't know anything. And just everyone there is so nice. Your professors are nice, and you'll meet people like us. And just never be afraid to ask for help or ask how you can get more involved, because there'll always be someone there to help you.
I think I would have to agree. Coming in, I remember my orientation day freshman year, I was the only political science major student there. So I was like, I don't know if I picked the wrong major or if it's just a small department. But once I got in and I started talking to people, especially working in the department, I got to know a lot of my professors and a lot of students. And I agree. I would say get involved, do as much as you can on campus, because it's gonna make it worth it, and it's gonna make a really good resume for later.
For sure. So what all can political science students get involved in here on A-State's campus?
Well, I think that it's a broad range. And what I really love about the political science department is that you're able to create your own opportunities.
Yeah.
So with Dr. Butcher's class, for one of our assignments, I made a TikTok, and that's how I ended up meeting my best friend. And now every week I do TikTok interviews on campus.
Wow.
And there's the pre-law club, and just there's so many things that you can do. In the DC trip, it was just a spark that ignited, and that's how we all got involved with that. So the poli-sci department, whatever you want to do is within your reach. You just have to have the will to do it.
Yep. Tori?
Could you repeat it for me? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
What all can political science students get involved in?
On campus, I would say there's, like you said, there's a lot of groups. Pre-law's a big one. There's a moot court, Model UN. A lot of those are good for being a political science student, because a lot of this classes you debate and you talk, and they ask confrontational questions they want you to answer, and they want you to debate that stuff in class. So being in those organizations will really help you there, because they teach you what to say, how to say it, how to search information. It helps you a lot, not only for like the debates in class, but the classwork as well, because you know exactly what to look for when you're doing assignments.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's definitely a lot to do. Thank y'all so very much. And that will do it for this edition of You, Me, and the Community. I want to thank my guests, Dr. Jordan Butcher, Garrett Partain, Tori Simmons, and Harrison Warren. I also want to thank the instructor of creative media production, Mr. Dustin Sullivan, and his students who are behind the scenes running the show. Thanks to the engineers, Derek Herring and Clayton Hoderfield, for all their help as well. We will see you next time for another episode of You, Me, and the Community. Thanks for watching.